a life in constant pain. For 12-year-old Bailey Turner, that's his reality. He's had juvenile arthritis since he was 6 months old. We're about to meet him and his mum. But first, let's take a look at some of his story. Bailey Turner can't remember a time when he wasn't in pain. He's had juvenile arthritis his whole life.
On my worst days, it feels like I can't really get out of bed. I feel aching, I can't walk as easy and move my arms to pick things up.
As a baby, doctors didn't know what was wrong.
He couldn't tell me what was going on. All we knew that with the crying and the not wanting to walk or weight bear, that something was going on. And then basically, because there's no test for juvenile arthritis, it was a process of elimination.
After 6 months of hospital visits and hundreds of tests, the Turners finally had a diagnosis. Since then, their lives have changed forever.
Put my career on hold, learn all the medical lingo, learn how to administer medications, keep a diary of all the symptoms so that we were able to speak with the doctors and let them know from time to time what was going on. And basically just still then try to keep the family unit together and have a life in amongst all the medical appointments.
After all other treatments failed, Bailey is now part of an international clinical trial for the next 7 years. He's responding well, but is still extremely fragile.
Yeah, I can't play many physical sports because I usually get sore after I finish. I fracture a lot easier.
Chronic pain affects 8 million Australians just like Bailey. He and his mum Jo join us now here in the studio. Thank you for joining us on Studio 10. Jo, if I can start by asking, how difficult was it for you? Because you didn't know what was wrong with Bailey and he was in so much pain.
Well, initially, Bailey was a baby, so of course he couldn't communicate. His way of telling us something was wrong was crying. And it was up to us as his parents to interpret whether it was a hungry cry, a dirty nappy cry, or I'm in pain and I need something done cry, which is what it eventuated as. And I saw that he wasn't weight-bearing. He was at that age where he was starting to cruise, starting to crawl, and he just wanted to sit and cry in my lap. So I'd made an appointment to the GP to see if we could find out if something was wrong with his foot, which is what I thought. And then before we even made it to the GP, his ankle swelled up literally like a balloon in front of my eyes in the swimming pool at his regular swimming lesson. So it was off to emergency at John Hunter Children's Hospital, and it was 2 weeks of being poked and prodded and blood tests. He had every kind of imaging under the sun. I had literally found out the day before that I was pregnant with my daughter Violet, so for much of the imaging I wasn't even allowed to be there to hold him. And it was a process of elimination because there's no test for juvenile arthritis. So basically they had to rule out cancer, leukemia, staph, strep, meningococcal, all these nasty things they were throwing around. And as a parent, you're just like freaking because you're saying, what is wrong with my child? I know something is wrong. But it was a case of finding out
when he was finally diagnosed?
Well, after his initial hospital admission, it was a good 6 months before we were able to get into a paediatric rheumatologist, because at the time there was only one in the state, Dr. Jeffrey Chato, who's been Bailey's doctor ever since. And he just took basically one look at him and said, it's juvenile arthritis, admitted him to hospital and started draining the joints and injecting steroids and just started on a really heavy medication program from there on, and it's been that case all along.
Will he outgrow it?
At this stage, cover your ears, darling, his initial diagnosis was looking good. He has the type of juvenile arthritis that 70 to 80% of children outgrow or go into spontaneous remission by puberty. But because Bailey's arthritis has now spread from head to foot, and it's become a more extended form of the disease, now the prognosis is looking that it's going to be lifelong.
Well, Bailey, I've got some good news. My daughter was diagnosed with a rare form of juvenile arthritis when she was a little girl, and she's beaten it. We did everything they said, so that might be your outcome as well.
Yeah.
I'm going to keep my fingers crossed.
Yeah, I hope so.
Me too. Because how do you go each day? Because it must be really painful, is it?
Yeah, it's mainly I get most of the pain on cold days because it swells up my joints and freezes them, so it really hurts. And otherwise, I usually are okay because the medications I take.
How do you deal with the pain? Because I think, looking at you, I wouldn't think that you're in, that you're in pain. Are you in pain at the moment?
Not right now, no. But when I am, I usually distract myself by playing games or something.
What kind of games do you like?
Video games.
Minecraft, you've been
Yes.
of course. And also, you're pretty close to your sister Violet, aren't you?
Kind of.
Violet's here. I've met Violet.
Yeah.
Don't say anything that's going to get you into strife afterwards.
Yes.
Because Joe, it must be something that, as a family, it's brought you closer, but it brings us challenges, doesn't it? How do you manage as a family?
Well, for us, because Bailey's had this since he was an infant, and because Violet has been involved in this process since she was in utero, this is our normal. We've been managing this for 12 years, and it's only when you stop and think and find yourself sitting in a TV studio talking about it that you go, yeah, this isn't what everybody else does. And it's only when you go to hospital for more blood tests, or I have to get out the medication because I give Bailey 2 injections every week at home, and it's only when I have to remind him to do his stretches, or when he wakes up one morning and go, Mummy, I can't move my neck, that you stop and pause and go, this isn't normal. This is our normal, but it's not the normal.
Well, he looks pretty good on it.
I
whatever it
agree.
is.
The medication's working. That's the trick. You find the right combination of medication, and you can give these kids as decent a childhood as possible, which is the aim.
Joe and Bailey, thank you so much for joining us this morning on Studio 10 and sharing
Great
your
to meet
story.
you.
And Bailey, all the best. And good luck with Minecraft.
Yeah.
After the break here on Studio 10, just exactly what is chronic pain and what can you do to make sure you don't get it? Expert advice coming up next.
Lying naked on the floor.